Hello, mamas. There's absolutely nothing of note in the news recently. Nothing really noteworthy, no drama, no world events, quite truly nothing to talk about on a podcast called Drama Mama. So I thought what a treat it could be for both myself and for you today to go through some of my favorite fonts in the world. I know fonts are often overlooked by many. They're an afterthought to most. They're little pieces of art in the way we communicate and in language, and they happen to be one of my very, very, very special interests, and it would be a joy to share them with you today. I have compiled a non-exhaustive list of some of my favorite fonts, and I have a few, because we want to keep it positive here, of my least favorite fonts, some that just don't tickle my fancy. And I should start off by giving a little bit of backstory into fonts. Sometimes you'll see a font that says serif, and sometimes you'll see a font that says sans serif, and you wonder to yourself, what could this difference in distinction mean? What could the difference be? These are Latin words. I'm not trying to speak Latin. I'm trying to speak in English with these fun fonts. Well, let me break it down for you. There's broadly two families of fonts. There's serif fonts and sans serif fonts. Serif fonts are, maybe a little bit more old-timey, more classic looking. They're the fonts with like little accents on the tails, little squiggles, swerves, basically anything you can think of, whereas a sans serif font is a font that is largely without those. Think like the Google logo or the Chanel logo, things like that, where there's no funny business here, okay? It's just straight to the point. And you might fall in more towards one or the other of the two categories, and that's completely okay. Or you might be like me, pretty much split down the middle. I have an affinity for both, I would say, pretty equally. Sometimes I'm in a sans serif font mood. Sometimes get a serif in there. I'd love to see it. So, that all being said, let's begin. Arial is the first font. This is the font that my life is carried by. This is a very basic font. When you open up Microsoft Word or Google Docs, you're typically greeted by this font. And in the same vein, I'll also say I really enjoy Calibri. I'm not sure how to say it. That is the font of choice for this podcast. Real font heads will know that on my Ben of the Week channel, I only use Arial, and on this channel, I only use Calibri. And it is an intentional decision. You might think they look the exact same. They don't. That's where you'd be wrong. There's a whole world of differences in between them. I think Arial is a lot more... It feels a lot more like free and silly and playful, whereas Calibri has that kind of like essay feel to it, where it's like I could use this for like a legal document. And when you see a sign printed, like when you go to a bathroom and you can tell the owner just quickly printed on his printer like a out of service sign, it's typically in Calibri for whatever reason, but this is my bread and my butter, you guys. You don't understand how much I love these fonts. Nothing brings me more joy than like a white background with an Arial font or a Calibri font. I think it's beautiful. Next up is diving into the serif territory. We are now departing from sans serif island to serif territory, so buckle up, get fancy, get your monocles. This is the Emirates font. This one's a little bit random, and I'm not quite sure what the actual name is, but it is such a beautiful, perfect font, and probably one of my most recent favorite discoveries. This font is the logo for Emirates Airlines, and it's used like kind of a little bit sparsely throughout their branding. It's a little bit playful, but like also at the same time a little bit elegant and regal. After all, Emirates Airlines like markets themselves as one of the most like they have that like first class with like a shower in it, and like whole bedrooms in their planes, but at the same time it somehow balances a little bit of silliness. And the Emirates font, let me get this right, it's reminiscent of the Kufi style of Arabic calligraphy for the Arabic script. So it's like beautifully, it's almost like a marriage between Arial and an Arabic font, and I think it's just a gorgeous font all around, and the way they implement it throughout their branding, I think is perfect. I think it could be done wrong. Like when you see like people try and do like elegant fonts in airlines, like I think about like Japan Airlines or ANA, they go over the top with their serif fonts, and they have these crazy like old-timey squiggly lines, and I don't think it works. I think this like capital letter Emirates font it's beautiful and it's perfect, and it's one of my favorites ever created. I almost want to fly them just so I can see that font in person, like on a napkin, embossed on a piece of paper. It would be a dream. Next up, we have broadly the New York Times fonts. Now, the one for the logo, the Georgia font, is like a classic. That very like almost like 1800s. When did the New York Times start? I think it was the 1800s. Like just that classic look, almost unintelligible, but it's so iconic that like the T in New York Times, like for the New York Times Games app, like that's all they need is just the T. And when you look at it closely, it's almost like you can't even really see, like I wouldn't think that's a T. I'd almost think that's an E to begin with, but like it's such a classic that you wouldn't mistake it, and I'd be caught dead mistaking that for anything else. And also, this isn't as much as a font thing, but I love the sizing that they use for just their regular font. I'm not sure what this is. This looks like a Times New Roman. That would make sense. Hello, the New York Times. ABC pulls Jimmy Kimmel off of air after FCC pressure over Kirk comments. Okay. Love wanting to see a beautiful font and finding out we're in North Korea. Moving along. The Loewe logo. I think that this is almost similar to the Emirates font. The Emirates font is like a lot more vertical. It looks like kind of stretched. I think that works very well with their branding because it's like fly high, like being in the air. So like up and vertical is like a very good motif for that. But the Loewe font has these like beautiful kind of like pinches around the corners of some of the lettering that I think is very nice. And it looks very timeless. I'm actually not sure. I want to see what the old Loewe logos look like in the past, or if they've had that for forever, because it somehow feels modern. And you know, when all those brands were doing that thing where they would like just randomly unserif, they would sans serif the fuck out of their logos, like when the Burberry logo went from like being this classic beautiful logo to like just like almost Arial black, and all these logos following, and like Balenciaga, like there's so many following suit. Loewe has stayed steadfast. Actually I found their old one and it's still pretty similar. From 1846 to 2020 or 2014 it was like kind of similar, but I just really love the spacing of it. I love just like the little pinches in the corners. It's beautiful. Next up we have the Coachella poster text. every year when Coachella comes around and everyone gets so excited for the artists that are announced, what tickles my fancy first, just viscerally, is seeing that gorgeous font. And I'm not talking about the logo font. I honestly could care less for the logo of Coachella, but the block lettering, almost impact font. It might even be impact. If I'm not mistaken, that could be impact, but like the way they do it is so perfect. Coachella 2026 lineup, let's see. Is that just straight up impact? No, it feels a little, no, it's definitely different than impact. It's like very bold, but also like the impact font. Okay, I have the impact font on here, so I'll do this as a twofer. The impact font is an absolute classic. It is so versatile in its meaning. Like the impact font can be used so loudly and aggressively, and you can like stretch it out in so many like crazy ways. Anything from like a Playboy Cardi album title to a lowercase use. Like I think I love an impact font in all caps, and you know that's like the classic meme font. But I think when you have it in uppercase and lowercase, like it has the same kind of feeling as like the Coachella lineup font that I really like. But the impact has like a kind of like innate comedy to it. Like you can just take a picture and add the impact font over top, and it can just be funny naturally. Like our brains are hardwired to see the impact font and start giggling about it. So big fan of that one. Next up, this one I tried researching, and if there's any font heads out there, I'd love your input and your help on this one. But Japanese half-width character font is the only description I can think of for it. If you want to see this in action, you can go to Amazon and just see what it looks like their typical font. And then you go to any Japanese website. You go to Amazon, what's it called? Like Amazon Japan, and the font is, I don't even know how to describe it. It's almost like a light font. Like it's like the opposite of bold, and it's so interesting because they use this font on so many websites in Japan, even ones where it would be like I think Google uses this font, and like where they would typically use something like Arial or Calibri, they always opt for this. And for the longest time I couldn't understand why. Like it's not my favorite font. It used to not be my favorite font, but I came around to it. But I believe it has something to do with the web design for when you need to have English letters and katakana or hiragana or kanji characters, and the spacing of them. Because obviously like hiragana and katakana and kanji are like more squarish, where, you know, some letters can be a lot skinnier in English. So I believe it's something so they can be like more in harmony, but it's grown on me, especially when like I spent so much time in Japan, and I'd see this font so much. It makes me feel really at home. Next up, this is a classic one, the Instagram create mode font, and the OG one. I'm talking, I feel like, and maybe I'm going crazy, but I feel like they tweaked the OG Instagram create mode font. They always change it. I don't understand why. They used to have this beautiful orange and pink gradient, and it's almost like they didn't want it to become too much of a meme, so they got rid of it. Like now, what is this? That's not what we want. That's not what this country was founded on. But we have the classic font. You know what? Maybe actually it's the same. I think it might be the same. They do have, I will give it to Instagram, they have a lot of really nice serif and sans serif fonts. I don't like the meme font. That's incorrect. I feel like they should add impact for a meme font. Like no one's using that for memes. That's like, the meme font is what they would use, what like a soccer mom would use to say that like her like cat died or something. I really love the elegant create mode font. The literature create mode font is really nice. Those are kind of my classics. The typewriter is nice, but it's a little bit too wide for my liking, I gotta say. I think and also another gripe I have about the Instagram, so it's just transcribing what I'm saying. What the fuck? I don't love the borders. When you do a border on some of the serif fonts like typewriter and elegant and literature, you get this harsh 90-degree corner square, and I don't like it. Whereas when you do the classic font, you get the nice little kind of rounded edges, and it's not like just a solid rectangle. It kind of fits with the words, and I think that's how it should be. And I don't know why. I really don't like how it's like bubbles on this. So yeah, I wish they could fix that, but we're getting into font territory, guys. Let's not get absolutely crazy right now. Next up is Wingdings. This one is the silliest font that's ever made. I've never gotten to the bottom of why it exists, and you know what? I might do a deep dive on it. Actually, let's do a deep dive right now. All right, my quick little deep dive on these. It appears that Wingdings were kind of created as like a Unicode system to use like symbols and emojis. A lot of Wingdings are things like star symbols, or like when they're rendered on like an iOS device, a lot of them just autocorrect to emojis because that's what they were kind of like designed to be, I guess. There's a lot of lore with Wingdings that I could bring up, like so much lore. There's a controversy tab on the Wikipedia page for Wingdings, which involves a 9/11 conspiracy theory, and I won't get into that, but if you're very curious about a certain font's 9/11 conspiracy theory and you want to do a deep dive, head on down. It's been used in Undertale. The character WD Gasser uses the Wingdings typeface to speak. There's the artist Fortet, who has an alternate ego that he sometimes releases music under, and it's all in Wingdings, and it's almost impossible to find it. And like, I for the longest time didn't know that it was Fortet making this music, because I didn't even know how to like search up the lore of this artist. It was just all Wingdings. So there's some crazy lore with that one. Next up, the Overwatch font. I'm talking about the kind of capital letters slanted but like really tall characters. I've been in love with this font since like 2016. When did that game come out? Like 2016. And I think maybe I'm a little bit biased because through playing Overwatch, when I get like the elimination kill screens or like sentences or like lines, it'll always be in that. So like seeing that, you're always like, okay, just gotta kill an Overwatch, feeling good, feeling awesome. So maybe I've been Pavloved into really liking that font. I'm trying to think if there's any other fonts that I just associate with something good through like repetition or like a Pavlov-esque thing that I like it. Maybe it's a similar phenomenon with like the impact font, because every time I see like a meme with the impact font, I giggle and I laugh. I don't know. Now, those are my favorite fonts that I can think of right now. I would like to move on to my least favorite fonts, beginning with the TikTok text font. Me and this font go way back, and I would love to share my history with this font for you, because I am actually personally attached and married to this font, despite how big and grandiose its cultural impact has been. So let's start. I started on TikTok before this font ever even existed, before you could even use fonts on TikTok. This is pre-CapCut, pre-everything. And so this was like 2018, maybe like the start of 2019 when they first announced it. But this was back when if you wanted to communicate text or words or any sort of verbiage on TikTok, you had to write it on a sign and then flipped the video so people could see it. And there was entire creators. There was a good buddy of mine, Kevboy Perry, who was kind of known as like the sign guy, because he would write things on signs on TikTok. And then like it was a whole meme when TikTok text came along, because he's like, oh no, like what do I do? Like they took my job. So I remember I was part of, I've talked about this before, but back when TikTok was such a baby app, not like for babies, but like they had basically no users. They had just switched from Musical.ly to TikTok, and they were trying to get lots of press about it because no one was really on it. No one really knew what it was. They assembled a team of like 10 of us who were already on it, and called us the TikTok ambassadors. And they flew us out to LA. We had various like dinners. They would send us to cities in the US to like have these TikTok creator meetups. It was a really crazy experience because I had never done anything as a creator before, and it was my first foray into that world. And I got to meet a lot of cool people, some people that I like know to this day, and I was so deeply involved in the first early days of TikTok. And I'm not talking just being on the app, I'm talking like I had been in the TikTok offices probably 10 times within like the first 6 months of me starting TikTok. And I remember whenever they would keep us like NDA'd down, but they would anytime there was like a new feature that they were testing or about to launch, we would always get like a special version of the TikTok app that would have this feature installed on it, and we could try it out. And I remember when they like gave us the heads up that TikTok text was coming, and maybe, you know what, this was like 6 years ago, so my memory's fading, but I feel like they even offered us like, or asked for our input on like different variations of the classic TikTok font that we have now. And at first, I have to say, I really disliked it. It didn't find its footing for a very long time. Like the TikTok font, now like the classic TikTok font is just white or with like a black border, or even sometimes like a colored border. But back then, there was no meta yet, so people would do like a red TikTok font, a purple, a green one, and it would contrast with the videos really like awkwardly. So I was a big opponent of it for a very long time. I really didn't like the TikTok font, and for a while it wasn't even like really like accepted by the TikTok community, if I can remember correctly. Like I remember there's a lot of pushback for a while, and people were like this feels ugly, and now it is very widely used. Like I think about 2019, where like people would even say like, oh, I don't want to use like TikTok text because it'll like hurt my videos performance, because there was like theories that it would like hurt an algorithm for whatever reason. And now it's almost like extremely encouraged, and there's like subtitles on so many videos with a TikTok text font. And I dislike it because it's like aesthetically it's not my favorite, but also I think it just represents a very amateur, thoughtless use of English and of fonts, because there is other options. And you know, I think like the Instagram basic font that is used in like create mode has like a certain kind of cheekiness to it that can be fun, but the TikTok font, it feels too corporate, and maybe it's been used in like too many ads, and that's what I don't like. I don't know, I really can't narrow down what my disdain is for that font, but it's not my favorite, and it sucks because as I said, me and that font go way back. Next up, the Amazon fonts. And I know that I just used Amazon as an example to go look at the Japanese classic font, so maybe that was a bad move on my part, for which I will apologize to you right now. But when you go to the Amazon, I'm switching back to the US. Oh, this font fills me with like a nameless dread. It's so, I don't know what it is. This is a sans serif font, I believe, or maybe somewhere in between the two. it just feels, it's kind of similar to like Calibri, with its little pinches in the corners, but it feels very corporate and vibeless, and like it doesn't stand for anything. This font feels so, I don't even know where to begin with my dislike for it. And maybe it's a similar thing where I just associate it with Amazon, which is a very vibeless company, I guess you could say. Like when I think of Amazon, I think it's like everything, and I don't think of one particular thing. It I don't know. Next up is Courier New. I used to really like this font, and unfortunately changed my mind. I recently, at the start of this year, wrote a screenplay, and for so long was staring at that Courier New font. I will say, I do like this font in bold. I think in bold, it's a very, very nice font, and I would almost use it not for what bold is to be used for, but I could almost use like a Courier bold as just like a regular typeface. But I know that it's a little bit uncouth, so I don't think I'd ever do something as drastic as that. But it's something about how wide the characters are and how skinny they are. It makes me uncomfortable. It's a little bit hard to read. I think I associate it with like the countless auditions that I've done where I'm panicking trying to read the script like the night before, or if it's a self-tape, like trying to like squint at my iPad that's holding up the script, and it gives me a very stressful vibe. It feels like it represents impermanence, because it's kind of like a transitory font. It's like a work in progress. You would never see the Courier font published in like a permanent thing. Or maybe actually, I believe Interview Magazine uses it, and I think they might adjust the width of it. Let me see. No, never mind. Sorry, it's not. I don't know what this font is. It's almost like a cousin of Courier New, but I really do love it. But no, Courier New, I can't do it. And finally, the worst of them all, the absolute worst font that has probably come to us this decade, I would say, in the 2020s. It is a very 2020s font, but I believe it was kind of gaining popularity in 2019. It is the Mr. Beast font. I believe it's called Axios something. No, something like that. It is the most disgusting font ever created. And obviously popularized by one person, Mr. Beast. It's like many things that man does. It's a bastardization of a specific piece of popular culture. This font, I feel like could have used to be able to be associated with like comics. Like if it felt like a bold version of comics, and maybe it's like the same font family. I'm not sure. I don't know the lore on that one, but its use from comics to being converted to like the subtitles for a Mr. Beast video, and specifically the motions that they use, how it's always being flashed at you, it's always having like some sort of colored effect. It's very overstimulating, it's very overwhelming, and taken out of the context of like a comic book, it feels awkward and out of place in like a YouTube video. And you know, it would be one thing if it was just in like Mr. Beast videos and that was his personal font. I think everyone should have their own personal font. I think it's one of the most important things you can do in this world is have your own favorite font, and I implore you to do that. But it's the way that all the inevitable Mr. Beast copycats started using this font, thinking it had some inherent key to success, that they were using this font. And you would see it in thumbnails, you would see it in like so many gaming videos, and it reached a point of saturation that like you just saw it everywhere, and it got so disgusting. And I'm not sure, I haven't watched a Mr. Beast video in a while, but I'm not sure if he still uses it. I would argue that he still has the right to use it, but beyond him, just a very, very disgusting font. And it's unfortunate because it was taken out of context and bastardized and could have been nice at one point, but not anymore. And I believe that's all I have for you. I think there's a beautiful world of fonts. If you ever just want to slow your life down for a second and take in little details and little beauties, it is an art form. It is calligraphy. Some people dedicate their whole life to making a font beautiful, and I would hope that one day before I die, I'd like to create my own font. I'd like to spend a year of my life just designing a signature font, tweaking it, serif, sans serif, ripping them serifs off. I don't know. It would be a dream of mine. And I thought, you know what? Let's slow it down today, because the past few weeks have felt like the kind of weeks where it's like a whole decade happens in a week, and there's so many thoughts that I have. So with that all being said, hope this was Nope, this wasn't entertaining, but I hope this was fun to listen to, and I hope you have a newfound appreciation for the beautiful little works of art that are all around us every single day. And I'll see you next Thursday. Yeah. Love y'all.